大家好，欢迎来到 Waze Interview Time。今天我们请到了 Grace 来参加我们的 Mock Interview。我们这个模拟面试是完全免费的，全程录制都使用化名。有兴趣报名参加我们 Mock Interview 的朋友，可以通过邮件来联系我们。Grace 有7年左右的工作经验，目前在北美一家相当知名的公司做软件工程师。他这次的目标是大厂的 Mid to Senior Position。接下来我们就一起观看一下 Grace 在这次 Mock Interview 当中的表现。我会对其中的亮点以及有待提高的地方做一些分析和讲解。Welcome to the mock interview. So this will be a 45 to 15 minutes interview. And for this interview, there are two parts. The first part is I will ask you two behavioral questions, and that will take about 10 to 15 minutes. And
Yeah.
the second part is a coding question. It's a coding
Mhm.
exercise. It usually
Mhm.
takes about 30 minutes. If it
Yeah.
goes slightly longer than that, it's fine. I don't have any schedule right after this mock interview. All right.
Mhm.
So do you have any questions before we get started?
Yeah, sounds great to me.
在面试的开头，我介绍了这次面试的时间大概是45到50分钟，其中10到15分钟左右的时间回答2道 behavior question (BQ)，最后的30分钟来做一道算法题 (coding)。时间的分配在面试的过程当中是非常非常重要的，特别是这种 BQ 和 coding 的混合面试。如果面试者花了太多的时间在前面的 BQ 的问题上，那么很可能最后留给自己做题的时间就不够了。在现实的面试当中，并不是所有的面试官都会解释这一轮面试的时间的分配，所以大家在面试开始以前，可以通过询问 recruiter 或者在网上自己搜索的方式了解清楚这一家公司的面试的格式，从而提前准备好面试的时间的分配。大多数面试官在面试的过程当中会尽量帮面试者控制时间，但是面试官的控制能力是有限的。这一点我会在后面的视频当中结合具体的例子给大家做一些更详细的解释。Okay, perfect. The
Mhm.
first question is, can you tell me about the time you delivered a project under a tight deadline?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good question.
在这个地方，大家可以看到我的面试笔记当中已经打了3行，第一行是 ST，第二行是 A，第三行是 R，这就是回答 BQ 问题的标准格式 STAR。ST 代表 Situation and Task，就是你处在一个什么样的环境当中，遇到了什么样的问题，然后你具体的任务是什么。A 代表 Action，就是为了解决这个问题，你采取了哪些行动。R 代表最后的结果 Result。在面试者回答这个 BQ 的问题的时候，面试官需要抓取整个故事当中的一些关键点，然后把这些关键点放到对应的 STAR 的分类里面去。所以在回答 BQ 问题的时候，面试者也应该尽量的按照 STAR 这个顺序来回答，这样可以帮助面试官更好的理解你的故事，抓住你故事当中的一些亮点。
I can share a story of a recent project I just launched like 2 weeks ago. It's called OST AI project. The OST AI project actually cross two different platforms. One is Google Cloud platform. Another one is eBay Cloud platform. So on the Google Cloud platform, we have a system. The system actually is an authentication system that to help any sellers, they want to sell something, right, on eBay. So when they sell something, the item need to go to our hub to authenticate whether this item is an authentic one or a fake one. So that kind of system all running on GCP. And we also have a system called image service system. This image service system is to use a photo robot to capturing the items the sellers trying to buy and the sellers trying to sell and the buyers trying to buy. So we can now have the items in the hub, and later we use a photo robot to scan these items to take lots of high resolution pictures.
Okay,
And
one second.
then,
One second.
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt you there. I didn't quite follow. So, I understand this is also AI project, and you have integration with Google Cloud and eBay Cloud. And what's the first thing you mentioned? I missed that.
the first part on the GCP part,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the first part is called system. Is the system is an authentication system. That means we have hub employees. These employees will collect all of the items seller trying to sell on the eBay website. So we received all of the items. For example, typically it's luxury item. For example, a Chanel handbag, easy sneakers. Those kind of luxury items. The sellers, if the buyer want to buy something, the seller will first need to send this item to our hub to authenticate it, to make sure this item is
I see.
authenticated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the whole system for is running on Google Cloud platform. And then later we have a image service. The image service running on eBay Cloud platform. The image service is trying to capture all of the items image by using a photo robot to capture all the images and go through our applications and the services to get all of the metadata of this item and then make a call to the core AI teams modeling and algorithms to predict whether this item is authentic or fake. So basically, first part is the GCP part, second part is the ECP image service part. So on the part, the sellers post the item and have the item sent to our hub. Then our hub receive this item and use a photo robot to capture images, and then this image will go through our image service.
I see.
Yeah, and then calling the core AI team's API to predict whether this item is an authentic way or fake one.
暂停一下，刚刚 Grace 花了将近4分钟左右的时间在介绍他的这个项目。他一开场就介绍了这个项目有哪些 service， 分别在哪些平台上面运行等等等等的信息。大家可以通过我的笔记了解到，其实在相当长的一段时间里面，我其实并没有太听明白这个项目到底需要解决什么问题。在整个 mock interview 结束之后，我给 Grace 提了一点建议，我说在回答 BQ 问题的时候，先讲问题，然后再讲大体的流程。再介绍自己负责的这个流程当中的哪几个部分、哪几个模块，最后再深入的去讲解这几个模块当中遇到的难点和痛点。把故事说的简明扼要是一项非常非常重要的软技能。在面试的过程当中，哪怕你这个故事准备的非常好，但是如果面试者不能通过简明扼要的语言把这个故事讲清楚，面试官也很有可能在最后的评论当中留一条 communication skill 有待提高的评语，这一点会影响到最后的 level 和 compensation 的。就拿这个故事举例吧，当卖家要在平台上面卖比较贵重的物品的时候，平台要求卖家先把货发送到平台的仓库，平台需要拍摄这个物品的照片，然后抓取这位卖家和这个物品的 metadata， 最后把 metadata 和照片打包一起发给一个 AI model， 让 AI 来判定这个物品的真伪。Grace 负责的部分就是 pull metadata， 然后打包照片发送给 AI model。大家看，我仅用了大概4到5句话，就把整个故事的背景介绍清楚了。其实这个能力不光在面试当中很重要，在平常的工作当中也是非常非常重要的。在我带过的一些工程师里面，有些人就非常非常厉害，就3言2语就能把问题解释清楚；有些人拖拖拉拉的说了很久，然后 manager 也好，其他的工程师也好，很耐心的听了很久，还是没有听明白这个故事到底是什么。如果你的 manager 恰巧是一个在技术方面并不是特别厉害的人，那么很有可能因为你的 communication style 有可能会影响你最终的年终的 performance review 和你的升职，因为作为老板他听不懂你做了什么。
So why this project is kind of have a very tight timeline? That is because this project can kind of cross 2 different platforms. We need expertise to understand all of these platforms and applications. Second is there's lots of cross-functional teams that we need to collaborate and communicate. And also this also involved 2 PMs, one from team, one from the core AI team. So there's lots of communications and meetings involved in how to handle this. So basically in this project, I handled the high-level design. including the backend and the DB. I also drive all of the projects and deliver this project at the end with our tight timeline.
Okay, you mentioned it's a tight deadline multiple times. How much time you have, like total from design to deliver? How much time you had?
It's 3 months.
3 months. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so within this project, the most important time-consuming part is the end-to-end test. End-to-end test, we need to mimic the sellers to post an item. And later, we also need to mimic a buyer buy the item that the sellers posted. But before the buyer can actually buy this item, we will need to have this item hooked up with our image service photo robot to have this item sent to the hub and using a robot to capture imaging. And then after that, we will need to make sure our image service can make a successful call to the Core AI Teams API to predict this item is true or false, right? Is authentic one or fake one. So for the whole process, end-to-end test typically takes around 1 week's time, which is quite longer compared to other applications or services I worked before. So for all of the end-to-end tests, I will also need to connect with team members and also Core AI Teams team members to work together. At the same time, we will also need to coordinate with the hub users to have the photo robot ready for us to use when we try to test this. So it's a very complex process, but within the timeline, we launched the project successfully, and I would like to say thanks to all of my team members, especially to the QEs, because they kind of need to understand all of the process and need to write a lot of data and scripts. Yeah.
Sure. Great. A couple more questions here. So
Yeah. Go ahead.
how many services you own in this project? Like I know there is a image service. You mentioned there is a auth system like send the item to the hub. Is that also part of your scope or that's owned by someone else?
So I own services across 2 platforms. On the image service, which is running on the eBay Cloud platform, I own all of the triggering from the photo robot to trigger the insert image endpoints, and then have this endpoints to trigger the Core AI Teams API to predict this. So this is the whole process, and have this data stored in both relational database, which is on MySQL, and also the new document, which is on the MonsterDB. Another service I developed and designed is part. On part, we need some people from the team, but I also own the part, which is we need to pull the sellers data and also the items data from the system, which is running on Google Cloud platform, because we kind of need that metadata as an input to the Core AI Teams API. Core AI Teams API needs to know, oh, we have an image, but what is this image? Is this a sneaker? Is this a Chanel handbag? Louis Vuitton handbag? They need to know this metadata. I actually created that service as well.
Okay,
and
great.
Putting all of the metadata to serve Core AI Teams endpoints.
Okay, great. So this is a 3-month project. Can you briefly explain to me like what are the mechanisms you put in to make sure you can deliver this in 3 months, and for each stage, how much time it took? 在这个地方我问了2个问题，第一个是你通过什么方式保证这个项目不会超时？这个问题其实是在提醒面试者，你得告诉我你故事的亮点在哪里。像这一类就是 tight deadline project， 他们一般的亮点是：第一，你是如何计划这个项目的；第二，你是如何发现这个项目时间很紧迫的；第三，你发现这个项目时间很紧之后你做了什么；第四，如果到最后你还是发现有超时的可能，你是如何跟 stakeholder 沟通的？把这几点都达到，那么很有可能这一轮 BQ 就很有可能是加分的一轮。我的第二个问题是，你的这个项目的每个阶段大概都花了多长时间？我希望通过这一类问题来确定这个项目到底是不是你做的。 因为在面试的过程当中，把别人的故事搬到自己的身上，还是一件比较常见的事情的。所以，如果各位观众在面试的过程当中也打算套用别人的故事，那么一定要提前把这些细节都准备清楚，要不然被问露馅儿了，那可是要扣大分的。
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So before this project, I actually connect with the PMs and also the core team and the team. We have scheduled a lot of meeting, and also I have a project milestone and planning ready. I have split all of the tasks into very small tasks, and also have the engineers, assignees of this project to the engineers, and also we have at that time I already started training the QE to start understanding the business logic, because QE need to spend quite a long time on testing this. So typically at the very beginning of the system designing, project milestoning, and also planning, spend around 2 weeks. So this is this part, and after that around 1 month and a half working on the development. I mean, coding the services and those kind of things. After that, we have 1 week for engineers, for developers to write the integration test, because this is cross different applications and platform. We have around 1 week, a little bit over 1 week, working on the testing and integration, smoke test, those kind of information. And after that, we hand over to QEs to complete test this. But at this time, we have a little bit of need to coordinate with the hub users. The hub users basically all of the photo robot, they are kind of working in production. We will need to wait a little bit for them to switch one of the photo robot to staging branch, so that we can test using the photo robot. So at that part, we work. Basically, I drive this and work with other engineers to connect with the hub users and have the photo robot ready. That will takes at least I think 2 weeks, because that part we will need lots of communications, coordinations. We don't want to hurt the hub users' work. And also, we don't want delay any of the customers'
Great.
requirements. After that, we have that ready. After that, have ready, completely hand over to the QE. And I already, do the knowledge transfer before the coding part, around the system design part. And after that, I had another session for the knowledge transfer to the QEs to completely understand the end-to-end test and how to perform that.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I think I captured enough information. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you.
awesome.
Yes. To save our time, let's jump to our next question. Grace 在第一个 BQ 的问题上面花了超过10分钟的时间，按照这个节奏，他最后 coding 的时间大概就只有20到25分钟，这很有可能导致因为时间不够，最后因为时间不够，他 coding 的题没有做完。在 mock interview 结束之后的交流当中，Grace 也意识到他自己在 BQ 上面花的时间实在是太多了。他跟我说，因为这个项目是他自己主导的，然后也很有信心，所以说没有花太多的时间准备这个故事。其实这也算是面试的准备过程当中一个比较常见的问题了，因为故事是自己的，也很有信心，所以疏于准备，结果在面试的时候头脑里面千丝万绪，却不知从何开始，整个思维回答都非常的跳跃。在这里我给大家2点建议：第一，准备 BQ 问题的时候，把自己的故事用 STAR 模式写下来，让 ChatGPT 给你改一改、润色一下，然后每天照着自己的 STAR 的故事，照着自己的 Note 每天说一遍，说上5天，每次说的时候还可以再迭代一下、再润色一下、再修改。这种方法可以帮助大家更加简明扼要的把故事说清楚，特别是对一些英文口语不是很流利的朋友，每天把自己的故事说一遍，也能让你在面试的时候说得更加的流畅，说得更加的从容，说得更加的有信心。第二，在面试的过程当中，哪怕这个故事你已经准备了很多遍了，不要着急回答，先深呼吸，花半分钟左右的时间，把整个故事在脑海里面过一遍，把自己的整个节奏调整好了，再去回答这个问题。 最后我们来说说视频开头我讲的关于面试官控制时间的问题。在这个故事当中，我为了拿到我需要的 minimum data point，哪怕我很早就发现 Grace 已经超时了，我也只能在他讲了足够我问下一个问题的信息以后，我才能打断他。比如说，在我听明白了整个故事的背景以后，我立马就打断了他，问他是如何确保这个项目不会超时的。所以说，面试官对时间的控制能力是有限的，面试者还是要自己多注意时间上的分配。这个地方第二个问题的开头在视频录制的时候录掉了。第二个 BQ 的 question 是 Can you tell me about a time you convinced someone to change their mind?
That's a great question. I definitely, have those kind of experience. So previously, when I worked on the user management project, this user management project is on the part I just mentioned. It's another project also running on Google Cloud platform, serving the system. So we at that time we want to have a user managed system that to completely control all of the users that the hub users mainly, and also we want to better have a better system to grant the hub users different level of permissions. For example, on the system we have doc receive, confirm receive, quality control. We also have authentication and shipping and packaging, those kind of different stations. At the beginning, the system only have all of the hub users have all of the permissions. They don't split this permission to
Okay.
different kind of level because the hub users, most of them are contractors, so they're kind of using this system need to different. They kind of work in a shift, so they kind of this person in this permission. For the next 12 hours is another person. They also need this kind of permissions. So they didn't separate these permissions in a smart way. And then later we discussed with the PM, and the PM would like to have a new version of the user management to better handle those kind of permission issues. So at the very beginning, the PM, provided a very good design of this user management. But later, I found a small issue on this, but I don't think I can convince them, immediately. So I tried to write a small POC and showing them how to control that. The major part is we can have a user group. Using user group, we can, the user group template. Using a user group template, we can easily separate different kind of users to different groups. And those kind of groups, they can have different kind of levels of permission. And they can have access to different kind of stations. So at the very beginning, the design of this part is not well thought by PM, and they kind of propose a design with super admin, regular user, and all of printer user, those kind of levels of user. And later, I think it can be a better idea. So I write a small demo by spending about 2 or 3 days and showing to them in our design review meeting. Typically, we will have a PRD readout and design review meeting before developers start working on this. So during that meeting, I mentioned about this and also show them a small demo of this. I mean, it's not a perfect demo, definitely, but it will let them better understand how to control the users and the different stations in a better way. And they kind of, at the very beginning, think the project can be very large if we split those kind of users' permission to too granularly. So they kind of have concerns regarding this. So after that meeting, I discussed this with my manager directly and trying to understand how big this project and the scope of the project, because I want to make sure at least we meet the customer's needs and later we meet the PM's needs. So I discussed this with my manager, and we kind of, go through all of the, users, and also we kind of, have a rough estimate of the project. If we finish by their design, then definitely less time. If they finish based on my design, it's a little bit of exceed the limit.
Okay.
Do you have
So
any questions so far?
yes, I'm following so far. So what's the end result? So
The end result is we borrowed several kind of other engineers to our team and work on this project together to meet the timeline. So
okay.
at the end, convince them to use our design, but my manager supported me to borrow, two other engineers from other team.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Any further questions regarding this?
No, this is great.
Awesome.
This is great. Okay.
嗯
Grace 在第二个问题上的回答就比第一个好了很多，整个故事的背景还有流程都阐述的比较简洁明了，也解释清楚了，他是如何通过写 POC 和开会讨论的方式来说服对方的。这个故事还有一点点瑕疵，就是我并没有太听明白他到底是哪一点，他的design当中到底是哪一点他打动了他的老板，让他老板同意他的方案。这个问题我并没有在面试过程当中去问，因为时间上面真的来不及了。在整个 mock interview 结束之后，我问了 Grace，他跟我说 PM design 里面所缺少的那个功能，就是他多出来那个功能，实际上是一个比较重要的功能，但是 PM 事先并不了解这个功能的重要性。这一道题算是一道比较经典的针对 mid to senior candidate 的问题。这道题还有一个比较常见的变形，就是 Can you tell me about a time you had a conflict with someone？这一类跟人际关系相关的题目，面试者其实可以适当的夸大一下自己的功绩和能力，但是千万不要把被说服的一方说的一无是处。大家一定要把握好这个度，因为过分的吹嘘自己可能会给人一种大家都很迷糊，就你一个人是清醒的感觉。除非你有很强的细节佐证，否则这很可能导致面试官觉得整个故事 too good to be true，就是听起来太假了，导致他不信任你。回答这个问题还有一个另外一个比较常见的状况，就是这个冲突本身，这个问题本身实在是太弱了，导致面试官会觉得这个问题有什么好讨论的？这个问题你说服了别人并不算什么，说服不了别人才代表你有问题。就是说这个故事本身，就是这个冲突本身不要选得太弱。然后，如果面试者在自己的经历当中没有找到太好的故事的话，我这里有2个套路，希望给大家一点启发。第一个套路就是，对方因为缺失了某些关键的信息，所以说做出了错误的判断或者选择。你在整个交流的过程当中发现了他缺少那部分信息，然后你给对方解释之后，对方马上就理解到了你的 design、你的想法中好的地方，然后水到渠成，被说服了。这是第一种套路。第二种套路就是在项目的进展过程当中出现了一点意外，然后呢，你跳出了技术的细节，重新审视整个项目的方向，然后找到了一些办法绕过了这个新发现的问题，然后你所提出的这个方案用时少，风险低，所以说大家都给你鼓掌，觉得你的方案更好，被你说服了。这算是2个excuse me，这算是2个比较常见的套路，希望能给大家一点点启发。Next one is the coding exercise. Let me share the link. Give me 1 second here.
Shall I share screen or how?
No, I already got it. So.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So I'll open this link and
yes.
Are you able to see this? Is that synced?
Yes, this should be synced. You can type something here. Yes,
Yeah.
I can see that.
Oh
yes.
yeah, awesome.
Okay, so first of all, choose whatever language you feel most comfortable with.
I could not see the language chosen. Is that on the chair on the right corner?
Yes, on the right corner there is a gear button.
Oh yeah, got it. And then syntax.
Yes.
I will use Python. Is that okay to you?
Python is okay. Yeah, Python is
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Then.
Okay,
so
let me
shall
check.
I start?
Sure, give me 1 second. Let me explain the problem for you first. Okay, so
Oh yeah,
basically,
sure. Thank you.
this is connected components in an undirected graph. So basically, you have a graph with n nodes, and you are given
Yes.
an integer of n, and the array edges where edge is I, like each item in the array represent the edge, which is 2 nodes. All right. If we look at the example here, n is 5. That means you have node from 0 to 4 inclusive, and then you have 3 edges here. 0 and 1 are connected. That's one edge. 1 and 2 are connected. That's one edge. 3 and 4 are connected. That's another edge, right? Therefore, for the 5 nodes, they are connected with they are connected together as 2 components. The first one is 0, 1, 2. The second one is 3 and 4. Does it make sense?
0, 1, 2. This part is a little bit of confusion for the 0, 1, 2. So basically, we have edges 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3. Oh no, 3 to 4.
So because 0 and 1 are connected, 1 and 2
Yeah.
are connected. Therefore, 0, 1, 2, they are one component.
Oh, okay. So 2 and 3 is not connected because we don't have a 2, 3.
Yes, correct.
Okay, I see, I see. So the output is the number of connected components in the graph. Oh, I see. So if they have an edge between different nodes, then they are connected. And we will need to traverse all of this to find all of the connected. And then end. And then start another traversal until all of the edges connected. Then return all of the counts of the connected components. Oh, I got it. Let me see how to approach this. Before that, can you see I'm typing something here?
Yes, I can see.
Oh, okay. So I would like to have some clarification questions. So first question, if the edges can be none, because this is a list, so the edges is nullable. Okay. Second, for the n equals 5, will the n can be a negative or can be 0 or?
It can be 0.
Okay, so n can be 0 but cannot be negative, correct? Okay. And then the output, what if the edges is none? The output would be 0 or the output would be a none?
I'm sorry. If
There's no edge.
that means there's no edge. For example, in this case, if n is 5 and there's no edge, that means there are 5 components, right?
Yeah, 5 components. Oh, okay. What if the n equals 0?
Now, what do you think? What's the proper return value?
So if n equals 0, that means there's no nodes. There's no nodes. That means no components. No components we can output can be either 0 or none. What's your preference?
Let's say 0 then.
Okay, then output can be 0. Let me see if can I please know what's the largest number of n and what's the largest list of the edges?
You can assume is can be computed on one machine.
Oh, okay. Okay. This should be all of the clarification questions. And with the clarification questions, we have covered all of the edge cases.
在 coding question 开始的时候 ，Grace 问了一些clarification questions，然后也说明了一些 edge cases。在 mock interview 结束之后，我给 Grace 提了一条建议。我认为作为一位已经有7年工作经验的 candidate， 他可以在 edge cases 方面表现得更加自信一点，表现得更加强势一点。与其不停地问面试官，这样行不行？或者说这种 edge case 情况下，我应该返回什么值？这个时候还不如直接给出自己的建议。大家要知道，在面试的过程当中，面试官会有时候不自觉的有一种代入感，就感觉像是我把这个具体的问题分配给了组里的另外一名工程师。我当然不希望这名工程师不停的来问我一些技术细节，我更希望他们有一些自己的思考。 所以说我给 candidate 的建议是，在这个地方可以直接说 ，There are a couple edge cases like no pointer, non-negative, no numbers, empty edge list. We can return 0 or n in those cases. 但就结束了。除了 edge cases，Grace 在这个地方也提到了这个问题的 scope。我觉得这一点还是非常好的，因为我见过不少朋友来参加面试的时候，看到 coding 第一反应就是啊，跟 lead code 一样，然后先开始说自己的算法，然后开始敲键盘。我觉得还是有必要跟面试官澄清一下这个 problem 的 scope。你可以不需要问面试官这个问题的 scope 是什么，你可以直接说 Can I assume we are talking about a graph which can be computed on a single machine？你只要澄清一下，就代表着你有这种思考，那么这会成为你面试当中一个怎么说呢，不大不小的亮点吧。我觉得这一点在大厂的面试当中还是比较重要的。
Next, let's see if I can think about some good approaches. So of course, the first approach is brute force because brute force typically can handle everything. The only downside of brute force is the time and space complexity would be very high, and I won't recommend this approach. Do we have any other approaches? Since we have a graph, an undirected graph, and the graph, this needs traversal all of the edges with a node. Typically for those kind of questions, we can use either DFS or BFS to handle that. Do you think DFS or BFS is that okay for you?
Sure.
Yeah. So
can you briefly explain to me what's the difference between DFS and BFS? What's their like mostly mentioned pros and cons?
yeah, so for DFS, typically DFS will traverse so deeply, which means if you have a node, I go through this node through edges and as deeper as I can until I reach the end, and then I will come to the other node and go to the end. I mean, it's the DFS is as further as we can.
Yes.
So the PFS typically we have a broader way, which means either in order traversal or post order traversal or those kind of things. But typically they will go through these nodes and edges in a broader way, not in a further way, but in a broader way.
Sure.
Yeah, the DFS typically we will traversal this based on the first node and edges, and then deeper and deeper. For BFS, we will go from either left to right or right to left, or from middle to the left.
So what's their pros and cons?
Pros and cons regarding performance. Typically, for the performance, if we talk about the space performance, DFS and BFS, because the output is the same, so there's no big difference. But for the time difference, maybe sorry, let me think about it. BFS might have a better space complexity.
BFS or who has a better space complexity again? I'm sorry.
Let me think about this.
Okay.
It makes me confused right now. So, I believe BFS, if I remember correctly, because BFS typically for the space they use a queue. Using queue can better traversal these nodes and items, and they don't need to create any new stacks or not new stacks, not new list. Or if my memory serves me correct. Sorry, I forgot this part. Yeah.
这个地方既然 Grace 提到了 BFS 和 DFS，我就顺便问了一句，它们的区别和优缺点。Grace 解释了它们的区别，但是对它们的优缺点和最常见的问题却没有答上来。这一点其实还是一个比较严重的扣分项的。大厂的面试这么多轮下来，至少得考5到6道 coding 题吧，考到 BFS 和 DFS 的可能性还是相当高的。 所以说大家一定要对这种常见的算法的优缺点有比较深入的了解。比如说 BFS 像是把数据存在内存里，DFS 是把数据存在 stack 上面，所以说 DFS 有可能会出现 stack overflow 的问题。这一个点一定要搭上。
Any other possible approaches can better solve this question? Yeah, that's what I can come out until now.
Sure.
Okay. Let me see. Can we start from the DFS?
Sure. 几乎所有的面试指南里面都会说，在你正式开始 coding 以前，一定要记得描述一下自己的解题思路。记住这个地方让大家描述的是解题思路，并不是某一项具体的算法或者某一项具体的数据结构。大家在面试当中引用的每一条算法或者数据结构，都是为了帮助面试官去理解你的思路，理解你解题的想法。这个地方 Grace 说了 brute force、BFS、DFS，但是听了这些之后，其实我还是不知道 Grace 打算如何解这道题目。在我个人的面试经历当中，我一般的做法是以描述自己的思路为主，然后在某一些地方会引用一些算法或者某一些特定的数据结构，并说明我想通过这个算法或者这个数据结构得到哪些效果。我觉得这是一个比较不错的把解题思路、算法和数据结构有机的融合到一起的方法。
Find a class. This class is to find the connected components. So within this class, we can define a method called the number of connected components. And our input will be the node and edges.
Yes.
And how to handle this? First, handle the edge cases. After handling the edge cases, we will need to, I believe it's a traversal, so we will need to define a DFS method. So after the DFF method, okay, at this part, before the DFF, we will need to define an output. Our output will be a number, so we can initialize as a 0. Then we will define a DFF method. After we define this DFF method, we will consume this DFF method and return our output. Is a high level of the pseudocode works for you?
Sure.
Okay. Then let's handle the edge cases first. So first edge case is the node. If we have no nodes, as we discussed, our output would be 0, right? If we have nodes, but we have no edges, that means we will return the number of nodes. So if edges, so we will return the number of nodes. Input and nodes, we will return, I forgot how to get the number of the nodes. It's as a len. Yeah, I'll write it as a pseudocode. What else? Edge cases, edge can be nullable, so this is null, and n equals 0, and compute in one motion, so we don't need to consider the infinite values. Okay, I think this part should be cover the edge cases we have mentioned. Is that good? Does that sound? Next part, we define the output. And for the DFS, we will need to think about how to traverse the DFS. For the DFS, we will need an input and edges. And how to handle that? So we will the edges in a list with elements with a list as well, which is the next page. And we will need to have the edges. I think we will need to have the edges first. Do we need to map it to something? Because if we directly use the edges, that means.
So first of all,
Mm-hmm.
can you help me understand for the DFS call? I understand it's depth first search, but what do you want to do in the DFS? So for your function, after it iterates once, what are we supposed to get?
After we iterate once, I'm trying to get if we have if the first two elements, first two edges, if they can have a shared node.
Okay.
If they have a shared node, that means they are connected components, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
But for example, if you look at the first, if we go back to example, 0 and
yeah.
1 means they are connected.
Mm-hmm.
So your DFS, when you iterate through once, 0 and 1 are already connected. Like, why you need to check if they are connected again?
Oh, I mean, I will check the first two elements, which is which is this one and this one. This is two edges. If these two
Oh, okay.
edges have a shared node, that means the elements from the two nodes connected by the
I
edges
see.
can
I
be
see. I
ended
see.
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Does that make sense to you?
Sure.
Okay. Let me see how to emulate it because I would wonder if we need to map this to a hash map or dictionary to better handle this, or I can directly consume these edges here.
到这个地方为止，Grace 说他没有准备过 graph 的题目，所以说他放弃了。我曾经一次过谷歌、脸书、亚马逊、微软这4家公司的面试，在我做过的、我准备过的 lead code 题目里面，我个人认为这道题还是相当有难度的。这跟我在面试这4家公司的时候碰到的最难的题差不多是一个难度的吧。在 mock interview 结束之后，我跟 Grace 沟通了一下，我认为在 coding 过程当中有待提高的地方。第一就是看到题目以后，我建议 candidate 先停顿一下，不要着急说话。无论是会做的题还是不会做的题，都不要着急说话，还是先在脑袋里面把你想说的话过一遍，把你的思路理清楚。这个时候不要怕冷场，你思考个30秒，思考个1分钟，思考个甚至2分钟，都是非常正常的时间范围。然后第二点，Grace 他后来跟我说，其实他这道题没有什么思路，所以说他之前在说算法。这一点我刚刚已经提过了，一定要说思路，特别是你没有很好的思路的时候，千万不要岔开话题，顾左右而言他。你可以直截了当的跟面试官说你需要 hint，要了 hint 不代表你不能过的。我只听说过 coding 要求 bug free，我从来没有听说过 coding 要求 hint free 的。特别是如果你能够很快的跟上面试官的 hint，抓住面试官的 hint，跟上面试官的思路，然后把题做出来，面试官还会说你是 coachable。所以说这一点，关键时候要 hint，大胆的去要，这一点没有什么。第三，在 coding 的过程当中，没有必要一直说话的。当然，这个也看个人习惯，有些人就更习惯一边说一边写，这一点当然没有任何问题。就我自己个人而言，我在写代码的时候，我可以说我脑袋里面全是思路，我非常讨厌说话，我也非常讨厌别人来打断我。所以说，一般我在面试过程当中，我是敲一段代码，然后解释一下。有的时候我甚至懒得解释，我就直接打一行 comment 说我这段代码要干什么。这个时候，如果面试官来问你一些问题，如果你认为这个时候你回答他的问题会打断你的思路的话，你完全可以跟面试官说 one moment please，然后把手头一点点的代码敲完，保证你思路的完整性，然后回头再跟面试官说 I'm sorry, what's your question again？这一点是没有任何问题的。在 junior 到 mid level 的 interview 里面，coding 绝对是最重要的一个部分。coding 决定你拿不拿得到 offer。behavioral question 和 system design 它只是它会决定你的 level，然后还有你这个包裹你的 package 有多大。所以说你无论如何 coding 一定要过。所以说在 coding 的过程当中，一切以你自己为主，以你能把这道题目做出来为主。如果做不到，如果这道题你做不出来，你其他地方说的多么好，你过的可能性还是微乎其微的。就这3点吧，希望能够帮助到大家。这一期的模拟面试以及后续所有的点评到此就全部结束了。再次感谢 Grace 来参加我们的模拟面试，同时也欢迎其他有兴趣参加这个免费模拟面试的朋友们通过邮箱来联系我们。谢谢大家的观看，喜欢的朋友请一键三连支持一下。最后祝愿所有在找工作的朋友们早日上岸，拿到自己心仪的 offer。谢谢大家。